So Sundae Strategies is a non-custodial delegated trading mechanism in the Sundae v3 contracts. So normally, or if you are planning on following along and you have your laptop, make sure you install Rust, install Bun, and go to this Sundae Strategies repo. It's got a README that you can kind of start reading through. So normally when you place an order on SundaeSwap, you put some amount of assets into a UTXO, say 10K ADA, and the datum describes what you want to do. It says swap this 10K ADA for at least 7,200 USD. That was the price when I built this machine. And the owner is Pi. You know, if I sign the transaction, I can cancel that order and reclaim that 10,000 ADA. And so then once you've posted that and once it can execute, the scoopers, which is what we call the batchers, if you're not familiar with the Sundae terminology, will go and execute a scoop that includes as many orders as they can fit and returns kind of the result of that swap back to you. In a strategy, which is another order type, so swap, deposit, withdraw strategy, instead of saying, here's what I want you to do, you say, here's who can tell you what to do. So you include some public key in the datum, and you know, at first, the scoopers don't know what to do with it, so if the order doesn't execute, it just sits there. But then, maybe whoever you gave that public key to, maybe it's yourself running on a server, maybe it's some kind of managed service like SundaeSwap or Dex Hunter or something like that, they can build that payload, that same swap this much ADA for that much token, and send that directly to the scoopers through kind of a decentralized gossip network. Then those scoopers, with that intent and signature in hand, can go and execute your order. And the really cool things about this are, one, they can be chained arbitrarily. So normally when you execute an order, it pays right back into your wallet. But with a strategy, you can set it to pay right back into the strategy. And so I can execute multiple times with different payloads. And also, it's non-custodial, right? There's still a trust element because the person who you're giving control to can say, oh, I'm gonna make this really dumb trade. But even if they do so, the funds stay locked at that contract and only you can reclaim them. So if you say, hey, this is a strategy on the ADA USDM pair, well, then at least you know that you're always gonna have ADA and USDM, which are tokens that you value, right? And so this is a really flexible primitive. So I'm gonna give you really quickly 3 examples. Very simply, you could do a dollar cost average, which is just you run a server somewhere that says once per day, I'm gonna build the payload that says swap 100 ADA. Example 2, you could implement trailing stop loss, which is basically you keep like a high watermark price that marches up with the price of the pool. And when it drops below that price, it triggers a sell. So that's a way to like kind of lock in profits. And so that would execute after it triggered. I'll come back to the demo, but like you can get really crazy with it, right? You could plug in an agentic AI into this and have it indicate your trade signals. Yeah, George.
Are you still able to apply these traits? For example, like, yeah, I want to do DCA, but if the price sticks out of my expected balance, like,
yeah. So the smart contract support basically additional smart contract constraints on top of it. The off-chain infrastructure for that isn't ready yet for this kind of first release, but yeah, that's something we planned for. Is you can say, hey, I want to let this CPA trade for me, but not if the price just changed by 90%, right? And so you can do kind of really complex things like that. Cool. So let's do a really quick demo of this. So we have this new feature that will be launching pretty soon. This is the SundaeSwap website running on my local computer with this new feature. And we've got this new strategies tab. And this is going to be a marketplace of pre-written strategies. So we've got a couple examples here, but you can imagine, the list of these is endless. These are going to be community-written strategies that can go through a review process with Sundae Labs and then kind of available to the end user. But you can also build and deploy your own private strategies. It's just a little bit more complex. So which of these should I demo? Dollar cost average or trailing stop loss? Well, that one's not ready. I can do one of these two.
I want it now.
Okay, we'll do trailing stop loss. So we've partnered with TXPipe, who is building a platform called Demeter, which is a serverless cloud infrastructure for Cardano. We're also in. Can I talk about this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking.
We're
talking to the Lace team about taking this same technology because of the Balius project provides. And I'll talk about this in a minute, but provides a runtime that's portable, so we could embed this in the wallet too. So say one of the options here, I can deploy it to Demeter, or I can deploy it directly into Lace, which is really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and log in with Demeter, continue with Google, go to pi at Sundae.fi, and this is Demeter. It's a serverless middleware for Cardano. You can run it, it gives you access to a Cardano node, Ognios, DB Sync, and this new feature called Workers. And so I'm going to go ahead and deploy this, and let's do a trailing stop loss on RBear. And then I can pick from a number of the RBear pools, and I'm going to say, let's do, actually I'm going to switch this around. So this should be, let's sell my BTCB for ADA. Configure the bot, and I'm going to sell 25% of my BTCB with a kind of trailing stop loss percentage of 15%. And so each one of these strategies will have their own kind of UI to configure the settings. Then I can kind of confirm and create. Clicking that button went and created the worker on Demeter, and now it's asking me to fund the SundaeSwap order contract with the amount that I entered. So. And if I go over to Demeter now and I sign in, yeah. So here it's the order's pending. So my Demeter interlude was to give it time to settle. But if I go over here to the workers, you can see I'm running these trailing stop losses. These are from when I was testing it earlier. But if I go to if I click on one of these, you can see that Demeter provides. You can view the real-time logs of these workers. You can see the settings that they were configured with. They have like a key value store, and they can provision signing keys. This is all beta. That's why we haven't released it yet.
SQLite running.
That would be a question for. Yeah. But the Balius runtime, which I'll talk about in a minute, is flexible enough that you can plug in your own database backend. So, and then, so this has settled on chain, and just in the interest of time, I won't go and make a trade that pushes the price up and then down, and but we'll post a video of that later. But that's kind of what the user experience for these strategies would look like. And so I talked a little bit already about this Demeter. Demeter is a platform that TXPipe is building for hosting these things, but the actual running of the workers uses something called Balius, and this is basically a WebAssembly runtime. So you can drop a bunch of WebAssembly files into a directory on disk, and then just run all of those workers. And the runtime provides kind of hooks to respond to events. So you can have the worker run in response to each transaction on chain, or you can have the worker respond to HTTP requests or timers. It can query the chain state, tell me all the UTXOs at this address, things like that. And so then, as long as you provide an implementation of that runtime, like in Lace or Demeter or in the browser, you can deploy it. This is actually, for those curious, also the same technology we use for Firefly, which is like a enterprise multi-blockchain abstraction stack. So the cool thing about Demeter is that it's very low effort to deploy. You saw in that demo. They're still your keys, right? I mean, they're on Demeter servers, but it's no worse than hosting, when people host keys in AWS, they still belong to you. And it's very cheap. I'm not going to commit TXPipe to anything, but they gave me an estimate that the typical worker might cost $2 to $5 a month if it's really active, and they'll have a free tier. And they're planning out a revenue sharing strategy with the authors of these workers. So if you write a really popular strategy, it could be a way to make a little bit of income for yourself. On top of that, we have built this Sundae Strategies crate that provides things that are specific to Sundae Strategies to make them really easy to write. And so I'll pull up one of those. So the trailing stop loss we just looked at, the source file, you make the code bigger, and then collapse this. So down here you say, I want to create a new strategy that responds to each new, is that big enough for everybody? Cool. Every time there's like a new trade that happens against the SundaeSwap pool, it'll invoke your callback. That function is up here, and we calculate the price. We say, is this pool price less than the base price that triggered? If so, go ahead and trigger a sell. Otherwise, update our base price to kind of follow that watermark up. And then triggering a sell, you just say, I'm offering this much token, and I want to receive at least this token, and then we send that to the worker. So they're super easy to write. In fact, Josh, in the course of like 30 minutes, wrote a new one today. It's the Hosky buy high, sell low, lose all your money strategy. So that's really, really fun and exciting. And let me go back to my slides. So I wanted to kind of show you this live. So let me go to my terminal. We have, these should be in order. So if you install Cargo and you install Cargo Generate, there's a README file that kind of outlines all this for you to walk through. But it's as easy as running Cargo Generate Sundae template. You enter a project name. So this would be Rare Evo Strategy. Do you have that word? No. And then I can go to Rare Evo Strategy, and it templated out this this project for me. And so then you can just get and start running. And we also have let's make this bigger. We also have a CLI for the SundaeSwap protocol itself. So while you're testing and debugging these, you can run this. I put it all there. This will provide you with some fancy ASCII art, but you can do a swap. And in particular, you can do a strategy, and it will kind of just guide you through what you want to do. So I'm going to swap, 10 or 1 ADA. Then I can pick a pool that I want to swap it against. So this should kind of make that experience of developing these strategies really seamless. And we're going to just spend the rest of the time here. If you want, you can write a strategy. You can ask me and Josh questions. We've got a bunch of ideas for if you want to try and implement them. So there's a really detailed README that you can read through, and we'll judge the best submission. So if you email strategies@sundae.fi, I need to set up that alias, but 20 minutes from now, if you email strategies@sundae.fi with your submission, we'll judge the best ones, and the best ones will be featured on the SundaeSwap website when we go live with strategies very shortly. And so, I guess any questions, and if you want to kind of take out your laptops and try it yourself, these are a bunch of ideas that you might want to write. Any questions?
You put that README back?
Yeah. So it's just if you go to SundaeSwap-finance/Sundae Strategies on GitHub. Any questions about how this works, or? Thank you.
Yeah, should we clap 3?
What do you think?
Cool. All right. Well, John. Yeah. B.
Probably this is the question to you. Like, I also
Here, yourself.
these strategies was spoke about these, we just like add one to.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the UTXO can hold any number of assets. So you could put 5 different assets, and then the executions of those strategies could say, hey, I want to execute against, sell some of the USDM to buy ADA, then swap that ADA to Matera. You can build really complex strategies. One of the examples here is like basket percentage balancing. So you can say, I want to maintain 60% of the value in ADA, 10% of the value in USDM, and then kind of just trade to balance as the prices of those assets fluctuate. The small caveat is there's a little piece of off-chain infrastructure that if you try to do that today, it won't work. But by the time you go live, that will change.
Sure.
What are the events you can react to?
You can react to each block. You can react to each transaction output. Do we have transactions?
I think so. It does.
You can react. You will be able to react to timers. I don't know if we got timers implemented yet. HTTP requests. You can create like a fleet of Balius workers that interoperate and pass messages back and forth. You can react to updates to the key value store. So it's a very kind of flexible platform. And one of the really cool things is the runtime itself can choose which events it wants to implement. And so if you're in a like really resource constrained event, you can just implement some of those methods, and obviously you won't be able to run every strategy, but anything that is kind of constrained to that interface will work practically.
Can you write it locally?
Yeah, so there's a great tool that in the README it highlights called Balius D. I think you're also planning on integrating it into, what did you call the tool? Tricks. To be able to kind of develop locally, and we helped them build or suggested they build a debug mode where it can replay the same part of the chain over and over, so that like if you're testing and it breaks, and that way you don't have to set up a new strategy, the new conditions for what you're trying to build every single time. So these tools will continue to improve over time, but I'm in love with the tool that TixPipe has built. Cool. So yeah, I guess Josh and I will be around and happy to answer questions, happy to sit with anyone and guide you through writing your own strategy, but it is really meant to be like a hands-on hackathon, ask us questions type thing.
Right? All right. What's up with this? Which strategies on the
I can't give you financial advice. The one you write.